Hello guys, I'm Ines Ivanova and I'm guest lecturer in this channel. So today we're going to continue building our Castagram application and we're going to do edit or patch or put. I'm not sure whatever is on Swagger. So here, as you can see, we have this put. Okay, it's put for this cat and interesting. So here we have this ID and the description. We have to put the ID in the description. Okay, so two approaches here to notice. First, we can do this by doing in the payload. So if we specify in the payload the ID, the backend will be able to extract this ID, get the specific cat for this ID, and changing its description. We're not going to change the image URL. Well, basically because it's a castagram, so we're expecting to see cats. If someone brings a photo to its dog, so it's not the catstagram, it's a dogstagram. So okay, we're going to edit just the description of the post. We're not going to edit the image URL. And one more thing, if we bring the functionality to like and comment specific cat post, we are not want to be able to let the people down by showing them one picture and in 2 hours or in 2 days to change this picture, because the likes that are given are for this specific picture, right? So here we're going to change the description of the string. And how we can achieve that, we're going to go here and we're going to put a little button here which will say edit. I'm going to go here and say button, not in Bulgarian but in English, button which will be with class btn and btn dash warning, I believe was the class from the bootstrap which gives us this yellow color of the button. So edit here. Let me check. If I go here, you can see, oh, okay, it's yellow. Okay, so here I'm going, of course, say click, and to this click I'm going to say edit cat function. And as you notice here, we're going to need this ID because we're going to be rendered to another page which is just for editing this cat. So here I'm going to say cat.id. Please, if you find this hard, you can always go through the old videos that have explained how we're binding this cat ID and so on. So we're going to create a function which will be edit cat and the parameter which will be ID. And here I'm going to render to another page. So you know that we have two approaches, by clicking and going to function that are rendering us to somewhere, or by binding an attribute. So here I'm going to say this dot router dot navigate, let's say to, here I'm going to use double quotes, cats slash id slash edit. Interesting part here that we don't have this URL, so we have to go to our uprouting model.ts, and again we have to specify that here we want to have path which will be cats slash, you know already that we are using this ID, and here I'm going to say edit. Component, well, we don't have a component, so I'm going to generate a component which will be nggc edit or modify, whatever works for you. Edit slash cat, not slash but dash. Okay, so if I see that, we can see that app model is updated. We can check it. Yes, it is updated. So I'm going to app routing model and I'm going to say edit cat component, of course. So here I'm going to save that and I'm going to return to list cats, and one more time check if this is correct. It's not, because here you're specifying something that will going to be a name parameter. But it's not the case here. So I'm going to put just with simple string concatenation, I'm going to put my ID. Of course, if you want, you can use the syntax from JS, or you can do something like, because it's an array, you can do cats ID, comma, and after that edit. It's possible. Everything is possible here. You just need to build URL. Okay. So we're going to save that. And as you can see, if I click edit, we have edit cat works, which is the default behavior of a newly created component to say that it is working. Okay, so now we have to build our form. Why form? Well, because we have to get something, display something, and after that allow user to edit it. Okay, so here I'm going just to display the picture above, and after that below I'm going to give a user an input field, which is filled with already existing description, and user will be able just to click somewhere and edit the post, and after that click save or edit or whatever button says, and it's going to be modified in backend too. So here I'm going to need a form. Of course, I'm going to use Bootstrap for this because I don't want to write forms. It's not the case. We're not going to show CSS right now. So I'm going to look for forms. And here I'm going to choose a form with something like this. But of course I'm not going to need this email address field, example select, and so on. I'm going to need just the text area. So in this case I'm just going to copy this form tag here, and of course I'm going to close this because I'm going to forget to do that later. And here I'm going to say that I want this specific div with the text area from here. That's what I need, right? But I'm going to need another thing, which will be the image. So the image here will be a simple image tag, which is going to have the image URL of the cat. And of course, down below, I'm going to have a button, which will say class, and here the class will be btn-primary, doesn't matter. And here I'm going to say save. If I click that, or if I save that and go back to the application, you can see here that I have an error, template parse error, of course, because no provider for control container for the form. You know this error from before, so here we have to bind this form to something in our code. And here I'm going to do, if you're not familiar with reactive forms, go back and check login and register videos for the client side, and you're going to be able to understand how the things are working. So I'm not going to explain again. You're going to be bored if you have watched these videos, so I'm just going to write it down. Here we're going to have cat form, and this cat form will be of type form group, not form builder, but form group. Okay. First thing done. After that, we're going to inject in the constructor the private form builder, which will be fb of type form builder. And here on the init method, I'm going to say this dot cat form is equal to this dot fb dot group, and here I'm going to specify the fields. So this is depending on the backend. Don't forget that. So here I'm going to check that the payload for put request should be with ID and description. It's going to be very easy for me if I specify this ID here. For now it's going to be empty, and I'm going to specify the description. So I'm going to say again here, for now it is empty. Okay, and I'm going to bind this form here with an Angular attribute called form group, and this form group will be equal to my cat form. If I save that and go back to the application, you can see that there is no error here. So I have to bind the text area. So I'm going to say form control name, and here I'm going to bind this to property, which will be the description. I'm not going to bind image tag for now, because we don't have the image, and I'm not going to bind the ID because the ID should be hard-coded somehow in our application. So as you can see here, we don't have this form, but it's okay for now, because it is down below, and we're going to change that just in a minute. I'm going to cut that and say div with class container with class row another div, and div with class lg4 multiplied by 3. And I don't like this container, I want container fluid. And here I'm going to put this form, save that, and as you can see we have this styling, because the styling is written in my style.css for the form, so it is applied here also. And we have this example text area. Image is not here because we don't have an image right now to bind. I'm going to fix that. And the question is how we can achieve this edit. Well, here we have this tree, right, which is the ID of the post we want to edit. How we can get that? We already have done that in, I believe, delete, I'm not sure, component, and here we can go and do it right now. So in the onInit, I'm going to say something very special. I'm going to say this dot. I'm going to need activated route from this. So I'm going to inject private route of type activated route, and here I'm going to call this route and its params, and because it's observable I'm going to subscribe to this params, and I'm going to go to another function which will be cat ID. Here I'm going to specify that it is string, and I'm going to bind my cat ID to the params, but not all of the params because it's an object. I'm going to say that cat ID is equal to params of the ID. Please check the previous video, you're going to see how we're going to do that, and I'm explaining that a little bit deeper than this. So, very important thing here is to bind our things in our form, right? So how we can do that? Here, I can say something like I'm going to call my backend with an existing function of my service, which is getCat by ID. If I get this cat, I'm going to have the information for this cat. I'm going to display it, edit it, save it, and after that I'm going to put to the backend all the information I have edited, and it's going to change it in the database. So here I'm going to use this function, and I'm going to say that I need this dot. What do I need here? Well, I need another variable which will be a simple cat, and this cat will be of type cat. And here I'm going to say this dot cat is equal to, not is equal, but I'm going to call first the service, this dot cat service. I'm going to inject it. So in order to use it, private cat service of type cat service, and I'm going to put that on different rows. Okay, so here I'm going to call this cat service with this function getCat, and here I'm going to give an argument this.cat ID. After that I'm going to subscribe to this, and of course I'm going to say that cat is expected, result is expected, and I'm going to bind my cat, this.cat, to this result. And once I have this, here's something very interesting to notice, that we have subscription in subscription, and here we're going, just to try that, I'm going to say this.cat .id, and here I'm going to say this.cat. By the way, this is from my model. I have this, I forgot the word. I have this intelligence in my ID for choosing the right property here. So I'm going to save that. And as you notice here, we haven't finished this description. Okay. So if I save that, you can see that here we have an error, right? Form group expects a form group instance. Please pass one. After that, we don't have this example text area rendered here. And why is that? Well, a simple answer is here. Because we haven't bind anything for now. But on second thought, we have, right? We have this form control name, which is description. And here we should somehow paste that in. I don't know. Why is this happening? Well, think about it. I have said you that here we have asynchronous code, right? That is why we need subscription in subscription. Again, I'm going to say that we're going to have a separate video, which video explains which operator we can use in ArcGIS in order to remove this ugly subscription in subscription in subscription and so on. So here I'm going to make something different. I'm going to take this and paste it in here, in the subscription. I'm going to save that. And as you can see, my result is here. Why have this problem? Well, because Endure renders the result with the form. After that, it is calling our service because it's asynchronous. It takes time to get this response from the backend. And we don't have the information when we initialize the form. It's not a problem. The problem is that the HTML is not rendered when we have the result from the backend, when we have the response. So we see an empty form, but we have the response, which is the case. So here we need to do this right now. And here we have the problem that the form group instance does not exist. Why it does not exist? Well, because the cat form appears when we have the response from the backend, and the HTML tries to render right now. So a simple solution here would be just to say this.cat form is equal to this.form builder, this.fb, .group, and here we are going to leave an empty object. If I save that again, we will see a problem, which is we don't have a description. And of course, we can do something like this. But here it's going to be empty because we don't have the information in the constructor. And we're going to say that we haven't called already the backend, and we have cleaned this exception. Of course, there's a cleaner way, and I'm going to show you in further videos how we can do that. But for now, we're just cleaning the exceptions, and after that, we're going to do that. In the next video, I'm going to show you how we can achieve this without subscription in subscription in subscription. And here, let me just finish the logic first. After that, we're going to clean our code. So here, we have to bind this image URL, right? So I'm going to say this src is equal to cat dot, what was it? Let me check. If I go to the network, I'm going to see that. So /3 is equal to, yes, image URL. I need image URL here in order to display the image. Of course, I'm going to have a problem with CSS, but you know the trick already. So I'm going to say that width is 100%. And it's a little bit nicer. Of course, we can add some margin bottom like 2%, let's say, or 5, and we have default. Okay, so here I'm going to copy that and go to my CSS, say image tag. I can do like so, save that. As you can see here, we have this. Of course, if I go back and click Diskette, you can see that here we have this. How we can achieve that to save and send to the backend new information? Well, it's pretty simple. Yeah, it's pretty simple because we can do something like this. When we click the button, we're going to bind an event here. So when we click the save button, we're going to say edit cat. Here, I can do something like this. I can describe a function, edit cat, and this function is going to call my service. Of course, my service does not have at this point edit, so I'm going to add that above. And I'm going to say edit or put cat or whatever you want, edit cat, and I'm going to say that I have data here. Here I'm going to say this .http.put because Swagger says so, and I'm going to specify the path. This dot cat path. And let me check one more time with Swagger. So if I say, yeah, it's /cats, and here I have two, this function right now tells me that I need two parameters, URL and the date. Others are optional. So here I'm going to put the date. You're going to ask, what will be the data here? I'm going to say just in a minute. So if we go back here, we can say that the data will be ID and description, right? Right. So when we do that, how we can get this value? Well, very interesting thing. If I say console.log, you can say that here we have cat form.value, not valid, but value. If I save that and go and change my description to cat2, open my console and log that, you can see here that we have cat2, which is the edit one. So we can just say this .cat service dot edit cat. And here I'm going to put the data, which in this case is in my cat form dot value. Something very clever, I have bind the ID here, and by default the ID is 5. If I go to this cat, of course the ID will be 4, but I'm not logging this right now, so you're not going to be able to see this. Oh, you're going to be. Let me just check one more time. If I click save, yeah, it is going to be 3. So here we need a subscription, of course, subscribe. And here I'm going to say the result is equal to something. So here we have very important thing. And this important thing is that we are going to need some action. Either a notification that the cat was edited correctly, or the simple way is just to render the user back to all cats or to details of this cat, whatever you want. So here I'm going to do something like this dot. Of course, this subscribe is not a good call for me right now because I don't return anything. So I'm going to say return, and right now you can see that it does not bother me anymore. So here I'm going to call from Angular the router. You know already the router, so I'm going to say private router of type router, and I'm going to import that. And here I'm going to use this router to router, not route. Route is activated route, router is router. Okay, I'm going to say that I want to navigate to an array which will specify the router, which will be cats. So if I go and say test from frontend, put request for this description. And if I click save, again, we don't have the description to this time, so I'm not able to display it here in get. But if I go to CCAT info, you can see test from frontend put request. So it is updated. So we have done our work for CRUD. We have get details, we have post a cat, we have edit a single cat, we have delete a single cat, and so on. Thank you so much for watching. In the next video, we're going to do an interceptor for our bad requests or for our exceptions and so on from the backend. And we're going to include toaster notifications for the user. And in next videos also, we're going to refactor our code a little bit in order not to have subscription and subscription and subscription. And we're going to change that with an ArcGIS operator. I'm going to show you how. If you find this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, you know the order here. And if you're Bulgarian, subscribe to my channel. It's in Bulgarian and I teach there Python, C# and so on. Thanks for watching. Bye.